In today's fast-paced world, effective communication isn't just about what you say, it's about how you say it. Relying on just one form of communication can lead to misunderstandings or missed messages. That's why today we're talking about using multi-modalities. We're talking about verbal, written, and visual to ensure your message is clear and impactful. Welcome to Connect to Engage. We're your hosts. I'm Jennifer Murphy. We also have with us Adrienne Wallace and Marie Strauss and Sonia Sethi-Kohli. We're communication coaches dedicated to helping professionals connect, collaborate, and thrive. Let's start with why this matters. We all process differently. Some people grasp concepts best through spoken explanations, while others need to see a visual to read written details in order to fully understand. Using multiple modalities increases clarity, reinforces your message, and improves retention. For example, think about a business presentation. If you only talk through your points without a slide or handouts, some people might struggle to follow along. But if you pair your verbal explanation with simple visuals and a concise summary in writing, your audience is more likely to absorb and remember the key takeaways. Now that we've understood the importance, let's dive into our first strategy, combining verbal and written communication. Adrienne, over to you.
All right, thanks, Jen. So when you deliver a message verbally, whether you're in a meeting, in a conversation, or even in a presentation, reinforcing it with written communication does help ensure clarity and retention so people actually remember the information that you're sharing. Verbal messages can sometimes even be misinterpreted or forgotten, but if you provide a written follow-up, that helps by offering a point of reference, and then that clarifies and reduces confusion. So let's talk about how you can apply this in different settings. First setting is in a meeting. So whether it's a team meeting or one-on-one with you and your direct report, but after a meeting, send a follow-up email, or even if you're taking minutes for a formal meeting, you can send that as well, and highlight the key decisions, action items, and the next steps. And that goes to everyone who was at that meeting, so they are all on the same page. If you're in a one-on-one conversation, for example, if you've met with a colleague or a business partner and you've had an important discussion, you want to follow up with a quick recap to confirm understanding. And then the third way to apply this is if you're giving instructions. So if you're assigning tasks to your team, verbal directions are helpful, but then sending a written summary that will include the deadlines and the expectations will prevent misunderstandings. Let's look at an example. So imagine you're assigning a project to your team in a meeting where you're having a verbal conversation. You might walk them through the tasks and timelines, saying what you need to do and when you need to do it by. But then if you send a follow-up email that outlines the deliverables, what needs to be done and when it needs to be done by, even who needs to do it, that helps ensure that everyone is aligned and nothing gets overlooked. Not everyone takes notes during meetings, we know this, and sometimes people may miss some information. So these are ways to supplement what you're saying verbally, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, nothing is miscommunicated, and most importantly, nothing is missed. All right, so Sonia, can you share with us another way to enhance communication?
The next tip we want to give you is to try to incorporate visuals to enhance clarity of your message as well as engagement. So if you have some complex information or data heavy information that you want to send to your audience, try using a graph or an infographic to help ease that data and make it more digestible. if you want to explain something like a process, how a process will unfold, or a certain new procedure, or a timeline, try using a flow chart or a visual timeline instead of just using text alone, or just instead of just listing things alone. Think about the last time you assembled a piece of furniture. If you just had the text, it might be a little bit complicated to figure out all the parts and where they go, and if you did the assembly the correct way. But if you have that visual diagram step by step, it makes it much easier to check your work and recheck your work to make sure that it looks the same as that visual. So just think about that the next time you are going to give any really data heavy or complex information. Another piece of visual is of adding visuals is images or videos that you can use in order to grab attention of your audience, but also for engagement. It really helps your audience stay engaged versus someone just talking and nothing else to keep them engaged, to grab their attention initially and to keep them engaged. It doesn't just have to be images or videos, though. Think about the visuals you can provide as the speaker. If you are using different facial expressions and body language and gestures, that's going to be much more engaging to your audience. And an engaged listener, an engaged audience member is going to be better able to retain the important message that you have. And now for our final tip, I'm going to hand it over to Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Sonia. We've heard about verbal, written, and visual communication. All are important because not everyone processes information in the same way. If you want your message to land effectively, then paying attention to the modality that you choose is essential. Let's look at 3 key factors to consider. 1, generational communication. Different generations engage differently. For example, say you're rolling out a new mentorship program. Boomers may prefer details in writing or in person, whereas millennials and Gen Z favor quick visual content. What would be the best approach? Announce it in a meeting, verbal, send a follow-up email, written, and then include an eye-catching infographic, visual. Everyone feels included in that method. Tip 2, complexity of the message. The more complex, the more support that's needed. Suppose you're training employees on a new software program. A long instructional email alone could be overwhelming. Instead, break it up. Provide a step-by-step guide, written. Include a short video tutorial, visual. And follow up with a Q&A session, verbal, to clarify questions and facilitate learning. It gives everyone a chance to really understand the new process. Tip 3, context and urgency. Match the method to the situation. Suppose you need your manager's approval for a last-minute budget change. Sending an email may result in a delayed response, especially with overflowing inboxes. Try instead a quick phone call or a face-to-face conversation if possible to get an immediate answer. Once approved, you can follow up with a detailed summary of what transpired in written form. These examples reinforce how different situations call for different approaches. When you tailor your communication approach to the audience, the message, and the situation, everyone will feel understood and your message will be remembered. Back to you, Jen.
Great. Thanks, guys. Let's tie this all together. To communicate effectively using multimodalities, remember to
pair verbal and written communication to reinforce key messages,
Incorporate visuals, not only for clarity, but for engagement as well.
And adapt your approach to the audience and the situation.
By combining these strategies, you'll improve clarity, engagement, and retention in your communication. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Connect to Engage. We hope these strategies help you to communicate more effectively in your professional and personal interactions. If you found this helpful, please follow us at Connect to Engage for more actionable communication tips. And stay tuned for our next episode, where we will explore more strategies to elevate your professional communication skills. See you next time.